Welcome back to Bonchon Warrior, where we bring our best and live wonderfully. It is February, and the 6-month program is about to come to a close. I feel like it was just yesterday that I showed up at JIEI as a brand new teacher, scared out of my mind, with little dribbles of pee coming down my leg as I stepped in front of the first class of Korean English teacher trainees. As I read about before, I was very concerned going into this program because most of these 14 very articulate and inspiring, intelligent, and competent teachers all had more experience teaching English than I did, and they had more explicit knowledge of English grammar and even vocabulary than I did. I was so concerned about having something to offer them. In fact, even after my interview, when my coordinator called me the following day, he had said that concerns were expressed that I would struggle to create materials for very advanced adult learners, such as these wonderful trainees. And for the most part, he was right, especially in the early going. It was a growth process, just like when I first started at Namok High School, having never taught in a foreign language classroom before. I really needed to try some things out, and I needed to make mistakes, and I needed to reflect and grow. And as we near the end of this 6-month program, my first 6-month program, it's really nice to look back and reflect on how I've really grown as an educator and my vision for my classes in the program moving forward. So my role in the Institute is to teach speaking and listening skills and methodology. So the 6-month program is an intensive English language learning and methodology program aimed to train teachers to develop their speaking skills and their competence and their confidence in the English language, and to hopefully learn new methodological tips and tricks to take back to their own students in their own schools all throughout the province. So my section was divided into 2 sessions. In the first one, we focused mostly on listening and speaking skills. So following the lead of my predecessor while also introducing my own ideas, I really challenged the trainees to explore their own interests and to give presentations, speaking and listening, about their topics of choice. I had them conduct podcast interviews, which were amazing. I might share them with you all in the future, but I have a feeling that the trainees would probably kill me, so maybe not. And I also had them watch a TED Talk of their choice and prepare a brief summary speech where they shared their thoughts on a TED speaker of their choice. And for the most part, the feedback was wonderful. Everyone seemed like they were very receptive to my teaching and my methods, and they all seemed to really feel like they were advancing in their English confidence, because a lot of them already have so much English knowledge upstairs in their wonderful minds. They just need the opportunity at this institute to really immerse themselves in the language and unleash their linguistic and communicative potential. So I really enjoyed the speaking section. But I also, looking back, realized that mistakes were made, and I could definitely conduct my classes in a way that helps maximize class time while also giving the trainees the opportunity to learn as much as they can about speaking and listening. So, for example, I felt like sometimes my classes divulged into a lot of lecture. I felt like I was always sharing all of the new techniques and speaking tips and tricks that I myself have had to absorb over the past 6 months. I've really taken my professional development seriously since I've arrived here at JIEI. I think part of it might stem from Adler's drive towards superiority, and I feel like I had a very healthy feeling of inferiority. I had a small chip on my shoulder, so I really felt like I had to immerse myself in listening to podcasts and reading books and watching YouTube videos and figuring out what kinds of practical advice I can give to trainees about how to improve their speaking and their listening abilities. For example, I got this one from the Art of Charm podcast. They interviewed a researcher named Oscar Trimboli who gave 3 distinct tips on how somebody can improve their listening abilities in real time. For one, I find it very important to try to slow your breathing. Slowing your breathing really helps bring you back into the present moment, and it really helps direct your focus to what is going on in front of you. And number 2 is to drink water. And number 3, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm going to give a link to that. In addition, I really enjoyed the work of Celeste Headley, who is an interviewer for public radio. What she really taught me about listening is that the external cues that many people often teach when it comes to listening, such as nodding your head or giving back channel statements like, yeah, uh-huh, oh, really? As well as providing eye contact, are just that, merely external cues that somebody is listening. But it has no bearing on whether or not a person is actually listening. It only means that they are giving off the cues that they are listening. So what Headley proposed, which I try to model for the trainees, is focusing on internal cues of listening. What questions can I ask myself to force myself to really engage in what someone else is saying so that I can respond in a way that is intelligent and shows that I'm listening and makes me a gracious conversationalist? For example, what is the person saying? What is the underlying emotion? Is there a disconnect between the words somebody is saying and the emotion through which they are saying it? And finally, and most importantly, I think, what questions do I have? As I'm listening to this person tell a story or explain a concept, what questions do I have? What further clarification do I need in order to understand the full context of which I am hearing? Let's take a break. We can resume this topic in another time. But for now, I hope everyone is having a wonderful week. And this is Ian from Banchan Warrior, reminding you to live wonderfully and always bring your best.